knew that I could trust myself enough to get there, even though it was on my own. And I didn't want to do it on my own. It's not like I was like, I'm doing this, woohoo. It was like, I have no other freaking option. Nobody's helping me. Hey, so in today's video, I just want to go through why I chose to heal my PCOS completely naturally myself. And before I get into it, I just want to make sure that you all know, like, I'm not saying ignore your doctor. I'm not saying, you know, not to get medical help from a professional. I'm just simply sharing my experience, so anyone that feels like they can relate to my story can, I suppose, see some hope in the situation. Because yeah, it's been a long, hard journey for me, but I've definitely got to the other end and it was worth every moment. So Lola's come to tell the story with me. So I was diagnosed about 7 years ago. So it's been 7 years that I have been researching PCOS, that I've been healing PCOS, that I've been, yeah, all about PCOS. I didn't actually know what it was before I got diagnosed with it. So if you've followed my channel for a while, you probably have seen my other videos where I've kind of taken you through my journey a little bit over the past year or so, couple of years probably now. So when I came off birth control, I was in a really bad way with my health. My PCOS symptoms just got absolutely horrendous. My hair was falling out like crazy. My mental health suffered a lot. I was exhausted. I had really, really bad acne all over my face and back. It was so painful and horrible. Yeah, I just had zero confidence. Like, I just didn't even know who I was. You know, I've always been really like a super motivated, positive person. I went from being super healthy to being just like a shell of who I was before. I didn't have a cycle for a year and a half. So I went to the doctors a lot. And I have moved around a lot. Like, I've moved from Ireland, so I've had doctors over there about PCOS. Then when I moved over here, almost 6 years ago actually, I moved over here, so that was a long time. And I've lived in many different places all over the country, and had many different doctors. And yeah, like, I just have never once felt like filled with confidence that I'm actually getting the help that I so desperately wanted. So when I was at my worst, it was definitely a few months after I came off the pill. I was newly married, so it was just not really ideal. I just moved to a completely new part of the country where I didn't know anyone. And yeah, it was a pretty rough 6 months of just complete isolation, self-isolation. Like, I just didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to make any new friends. I just didn't want to do anything. And this was before COVID, so I've been in lockdown for a really long time. Because it was just when I was really getting myself back again that the whole world went into lockdown. So I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. But so yeah, when I was that bad, I was going to the doctors and I was like basically just explaining my symptoms, and I just heard the same stuff that I have always heard, like, oh, you're still a healthy weight, blah blah blah. So like, it's not really important. Like, basically when you want a baby, we can basically try and help with that by putting you on some kind of medication, but other than that, just deal with it basically. And I know that I'm not alone at all in hearing that. It's actually the majority of us are told similar things. I mean, yes, I was lucky, I suppose, that I was a healthy weight. I mean, I've always been so health focused. Like, when I first got diagnosed with PCOS, I think I gained like two dress sizes in just a few months, and I was a vegan and I was working out all the time and all this stuff. So I definitely I've not kind of got away completely scot-free with the like not ever gaining weight. So yeah, like, I could have got to that place again, if you know what I mean. So by the doctor being like, oh, you're a healthy weight, I'm like, yeah, but I can get worse, I can get sicker, my symptoms are horrendous. And this is what annoys me, like, they're just so focused on weight. Like, especially if someone is overweight, it's like, oh, lose weight and you'll be fine. But that is not helpful, that is not correct, that is really, really bad information. And I mean, the thing is, you've got good doctors, and I wouldn't say there's bad doctors, there's just doctors that only know what they've been taught. And unfortunately, PCOS, it's rare to find someone that knows about it, that knows their stuff about it. And unless you can afford the best of the best of the best doctors and specialists and all of this stuff, and if your doctor really, really takes you seriously and gets you referred to, you know, specialist people that can actually help you, it can be really, really scary, because you just think, like, I am asking for help and nobody seems to have a clue. Like, nobody seems to have a clue as to what I can do. I was explaining to the doctor, like, how terrible I felt, like in my mental health. Like, I was really, really suffering. I was just so down constantly, and like I said, that wasn't like me at all. I've always been a super positive person. So yeah, it was just really, really, really difficult. And you know, things like my memory and brain fog, like, it was really, really scary, like, and I was so worried about what was happening. I was like, all of these, like, I found it really, really hard to just function. I had such little energy, and of course, like, my hair was falling out in clumps, like, daily. And then the bad skin and all of this stuff. So there was just so many symptoms, and of course I didn't have a cycle, like, at all. I just had nothing. And like, my doctors just didn't seem to, I say doctors in plural because I went to many, because I just wasn't ever happy with the advice and information that I was given. I didn't really feel like anyone was empathizing with me. I didn't really feel like anyone actually even knew. Like, I had one doctor Google something that I had already read myself. He literally Googled it, printed it off and said, read this, and I was like, I've literally read that already, like, that exact word for word. So I was like, wow, okay, this is pretty scary, and I'm clearly need to figure this thing out without the help of my doctors, because unfortunately I just didn't have it. Now, I know some people are really lucky, you know, and if you are, then yes, like, I am so happy for you if you have got a doctor that you feel like, you know, that you feel confident is actually giving you a treatment plan that actually works, or at least is trying, you know, and at least is listening to you and is taking you seriously, and isn't just saying go on birth control, lose a stone, like, all of this really, really unhelpful advice that is just the majority of what us women with PCOS are told every time we enter a doctor's office. Like, it can just be, it's just really, really, it can be quite damaging, quite scary. And I know most people don't research like crazy like I do. Like, I'm kind of science obsessed and biology obsessed, and I love to know how we work. And like, you know, but I know that there's a lot of people that aren't like that. And so I'm kind of like, if that's scary, like, if people don't even know where to start when it comes to what they can do to, you know, start looking after themselves and start their own healing plan, whether that's alongside a medical professional, alongside their advice or not. Like, I think everything that you try, if your doctor is good enough, they should, like, encourage it. You know what I mean? They should encourage anything positive that you're doing to move forward with your own healing. Like, it shouldn't be like this whole natural healing and doctors and pharmaceuticals, they shouldn't be separate. Like, your doctors should want you to you know, do all of this stuff, like take diet more seriously. And that's not just go on a diet and lose weight or exercise more. That is just ridiculous. That is a ridiculous thing to say to someone who potentially has insulin resistance or just PCOS in general, or any issue that makes weight difficult. Like, yeah. It's just not good information. So I basically took it upon myself, and out of my desperation, I was like, I can find some transformation. I can do this. I can do it. So, you know, I just absolutely solidified in my mind, which was hard, a lot of days when I was having bad days and whatever. It was really, really hard to see the positive, but that's where the kind of repetition comes in. Like, I kept telling myself going there in my mind that I would get better. I was imagining that version of myself that was going to be better, that the symptoms were reversed. I was happy, I was healthy, I was confident. I just kept that in mind, and I knew that I could trust myself enough to get there, even though it was on my own. And I didn't want to do it on my own. It's not like I was like, I'm doing this, woohoo. It was like, I have no other freaking option. Nobody's helping me. Like, literally nobody is helping me with this condition, with this illness. And I know that is so common, that is what most of us go through, is that we don't get the help that we need. So I think it's really, really important to put out there information, and tell my story of how I've got to where I am now on my own, naturally. And like I said, even if you're taking medication, you can still look after yourself holistically as well. Like it's all to do with what feels good to you and what feels right to you. My doctors wanted to put me back on the pill just to force a bleed, like to force a cycle. And I'm like literally word for word, to force a bleed. And I'm sure that's a familiar term probably for a lot of you watching this as well, if you've had issues with irregular periods and stuff like that. Like, just the words force anything onto my body, that's just like, no. Like, that doesn't feel right to me at all, especially when I'm trying to repair and rebuild and heal myself. Like, I don't want to force anything. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that just sounds like it's going to do more damage in the long run. And I was thinking, I've spent all of this time trying to repair my body from the damage that the pill has done, which was so much. Like, I came off the pill and my life literally turned upside down because I had PCOS, and I shouldn't have been on it for that long. And nobody told me that. Every doctor said it was a good idea and a good thing to do, and nobody ever told me what would happen as soon as I came off it because I have PCOS. Like, wow. And even just like the mental health side of things, like, women with PCOS are 3 times more likely to suffer with a psychiatric disorder than someone without PCOS. As in anxiety, depression, we're 4 times more likely to suffer from an eating disorder. So you can imagine the frustration of going into a doctor's office and all they say is lose weight and you'll get your cycle back, lose weight and you'll get pregnant. Like, that is not getting to the problem. It is just not at all. Like, weight gain is one tiny little symptom. It's a symptom. You don't treat a symptom to get to an illness. And I know there's all this like, oh, PCOS, there's no cure for it. And the reason for that is because it's so complex. It reacts differently in different bodies depending on their genetic makeup, depending on how much, it depends on the specific person and their specific body, the route that they need to take with their own healing. People have different symptoms. People react differently to medication, supplements, diets, all sorts, right? Like, you can have 2 completely opposite people with the same illness. Their symptoms are like opposite, but the same illness. So that's how complex PCOS is. And that's why just treating symptoms is not going to work. Like, it's just not. You need to get to the root cause of why this is all happening, because we're so much more connected than we think we are. And in my opinion, it comes down to 2 things. And I think this goes for healing absolutely any condition, any disease, any illness. And that is stress management, like 100%. And by that, I mean, you can take that however you want. You can take that as spiritual practice. You can take that as just having a mindset built for healing, a mindset that believes in the positive outcomes that you're trying to put ahead of you. And then on the other side, you've got on a microbiology side of things, things like our gut microbiome. Like, nobody tells you how much that can affect PCOS. Like, literally the imbalance of your bacteria in your gut, which is, there's a heck of a lot of them, like 100 trillion or something like that. There's a lot just in your gut microbiome, and there's a whole ecosystem in there. And when that is not balanced, and when that's not got that biodiversity, things go wrong. It literally controls everything, like absolutely everything, from our mental health to our hormones. It literally creates the hormones that we need to function. And you know, people don't tell us this, they literally don't. And that can offset, that can cause PCOS symptoms, that can cause diabetes, that can cause depression, like so many things. And it all stems from that one place, that gut microbiome. Very interesting. It is super, super interesting. And I don't want to get too into the science of it all in this video, because that's not what this video is for. But I'm just saying, you know, there is so many other ways that we can look beyond, oh, you've got excess facial hair or your hair's falling out. Like, these are just little, how could you say, they're just little like little red lights saying, hello, this needs attention, you know, there's something that needs to be looked at closer. And just throwing some more chemicals on the situation where you're already totally imbalanced, it's like, that's just not long term. It is not a long term thing. And in my opinion, if it's not long term, it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth it. You can't heal for a short amount of time and then put your body back into that state of confusion where it needs to fend for itself all over again because you've taken out that foreign situation. I'm not saying I'm anti-medication, I'm just saying doctors don't give you that kind of long-term plan. Like, at least they never have for me, like ever. They've never given me that kind of, right, okay, so you're going to take this, but then once you come off it, this is what it's going to be like. I've never heard that. I've heard, take this, your symptoms will, it will mask your symptoms. They don't even use that language, but that's the truth, right? If you go on the birth control pill, if you've got PCOS, all it's doing is masking your symptoms, and as soon as you come off it, if you're anything like me, hell will break loose. You might not be like me, you might just breeze through it and be like, yeah, totally fine, and I hope you are, because I would not wish that on absolutely anyone, but it's possible. It is so possible. So I took it upon myself to heal, and it's taken a really, really long time. So much patience, so much dedication, like more than I ever have given in my whole entire life. You know, and it took a lot of bravery as well to trust myself and trust my intuition. And when something didn't sound right to me, you know, I trusted that and I went with that, and I advise anyone to do that. You know, I believe no one or nothing is more qualified than your intuition, than, you know, being able to listen to your body. And that takes practice. Like, some people haven't listened to their body like ever. So you need to, like, yeah, practice that. And once you do practice that, you create this amazing, incredible relationship with your body, and you can work together. You can work through anything, and you can, you know, you can heal together. And it's the most amazing, beautiful experience ever. Like, being, like, learning how to self-heal and knowing that you can apply that to anything is just the most empowering. Like, what could be more empowering than that, you know? And that comes down to anything, whether that's a physical illness, whether that's some kind of trauma that happens in your life. It's all the same thing, you know. We all have the power to get through all of this stuff. And oftentimes we're told we don't have that power. And, you know, it's up to you whether to decide that, because whatever you decide, that's what's going to be true for you. You know, if you think that you can't get through this, then chances are you can't. If you are stubborn like me and think, you know, I'm desperate, what have I got to lose? I'm going to do this, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to come out the other side and be able to tell my healing story and say, I've done this. You know, there's nothing special about me. We all have this. We all have this within us. And it's just about believing and trusting that better days are ahead, because they always are. You know, spring always comes after winter. This is what I've always reminded myself of. Spring always comes. You know, it's never dark forever. It's never hard forever. You won't be sad forever. And it's just about holding on through those really, really difficult times. You know, that's the most important thing. It's not about being like, yay, I'm having a good day, yippee. It's about, when you're having a bad day, just really like being there for yourself, you know, supporting yourself, loving yourself, being compassionate over, like, through what you're going through. You just need to be there for yourself, because it is so difficult. And, you know, just treat yourself like you would a friend. you know, just be there for you, and just when you're having a bad day, just take it slow. Don't push yourself, don't rush yourself, because you will get through it, but it takes patience and it takes so much kindness to yourself. That is the most important thing that you can prescribe yourself, is kindness to yourself. And with that, you can get through absolutely anything, like you really, really can. So, you know, and it takes bravery as well. It took a lot of bravery for me. You know, the doctors were constantly saying, you know, it was like 6 months and then a year, I still didn't have my period, and they were like, okay, this is really dangerous, you're putting yourself at really like high risk if you don't force a bleed. And I just was just like, I know that I'm so close, like I'm literally so close. Like I had, like, it was almost as if like I could just tick off every symptom that was either really improving or completely reversed. And I was just making so much more progress, like feeling more like myself every month that went by. And I was just like, oh, I can't put myself back into that spiral of going on the pill just to get a period and then coming off it again, because it just felt like that was taking 100 steps back for me. Now, of course, look, there probably are risks involved if you don't have a period for a really long time. So I'm not saying do what I done, I'm simply telling you my story. I knew in my intuition, which I suppose I've trained and strengthened for a really long time, you know, throughout this whole process. Like if I was at my worst and my sickest with PCOS, my relationship with my intuition and my body wasn't actually that good at that time. It took practice and it took time to get there. So I'm not telling you now to ignore your doctor and listen to your intuition instead, but for me that felt right. Taking the pill didn't feel right. Powering through and doing what I knew was already working, because I was seeing such amazing results all over my health, you know, that felt right for me. And so I stuck with that, and then lo and behold, I got my period. So it's just, yeah, it's just incredible. Like it's kind of emotional. I told this story to myself so many times when I was having like a really bad day, and I knew that I would get here and I knew I'd be able to share that with other people. So I'm just so grateful and so like amazed at myself and my own healing power that we all possess. Like, trust me, we are all born with this incredible power, but it gets taught out of us. You know, we get told that we do not know what we're doing. We get told that only doctors can help us and all of this stuff. And you know, that's the beautiful thing about being in a desperate situation, is you kind of have no choice. You're kind of forced. Obviously it doesn't always work out that way, because you know, hence why we have suicides, hence why we have all of this, you know, bad stuff in the world, because people aren't getting the help that they need. And it's so scary. Like, and especially when I tell you about the statistics of women with PCOS and their mental health, like, it's just so scary to think that we're not getting the help that we need. Which is why I want to share this stuff, because, you know, even if it just inspires anyone, the main thing is, even if it gives someone hope, that's what I want. I just want you to have that little bit of hope that you can get through this, and there is that healing story of yours at the end. You know, that healing story exists, that version of you exists, and you can do it. You absolutely can do it. So please don't give up, and, you know, just realize that you have so much more healing potential than maybe you think. You know, I didn't know that I could do this kind of stuff, like, and reverse all of this stuff, especially when I listened to my doctors and they just scared the crap out of me. Basically just, you know, like, this is it. You're never going to be able to do this if you don't take this medication. And lo and behold, here I am without any medication at all. That just made me better than anyone. That just means I got really freaking desperate and found a way and made my own way. And it was a hard way, but it was actually not at all when I think back to it. Like, I was just healing, and healing is difficult. Whether you're doing it naturally, whether you're doing it whatever way it is, healing is difficult, but it's the most worthwhile journey that you'll ever go through. And so yeah, I just wanted to share the reasons why I wanted to do it naturally, and why it worked for me. And yeah, just to maybe inspire even just one of you to be like, yes, I think I can do that as well. Because yeah, that's all I'm here to do. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, I haven't got a piece of paper to say that I can do this or advise this or anything like that. I am just over-experienced in PCOS and the desperation that it brings. So that's it, and thank you for watching, and I'm going to be definitely sharing all of how I've done it. Of course, I don't want to keep a single thing to myself, because if it helps someone the way it's helped me, then that is amazing. So I will see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss the next videos. Mwah!